Zoom yenyewe.
Sijekata on.
Oh, okay. But uko
Thank you very much. So we will begin with the first presentation, and I can see others are still arriving. So as they come in, we'll first start with this presentation, and then we will make a slight change to the program and make some groups to discuss some sub-themes on research. So I want to welcome Dr. Turasha to make the first presentation.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Dr. Turasha. So this is, for me, this is a very important meeting for us as a county, as a community. I want to thank the organizers for coming up with this. I was asked to do something on resource mobilization. I'll be very brief because I know we'll have a long day. So just to give you a small background, One Health is an approach calling for the collaborative effort of multiple disciplines in health, both locally, nationally, and globally, to attain optimal health for the people, the animals, and our environment, as defined by the One Health Initiative Task Force. That was a task force that thought that we were working without collaboration. The health sector used to work on its own. It was like competition between the health, the animal health providers, environment, and this task force brought order to this and said, let's work together. And it's important that we do that. So I was asked to do this difficult task of resource mobilization for One Health program. And as you all know, this is the process of gathering and utilizing financial, human, and material resources to achieve organizational goals. It's very important for essential sustainability and growth, particularly non-profit and development sectors, and of course, our communities. There are many types of fund resource mobilization. Fundraising, some of us think that fundraising is about funds, lots of dollars. That's not the case. It's about us, the people working together, utilizing our capacities to to do the job. But in short, you can fundraise, you can respond to direct calls for fundraising, direct appeals to individuals, corporations, and foundations. You can have partnerships like what we have today. And I think that's the most important one. That should be above the fundraising. Collaborations with organizations, both local and international. I think that's the most important type of mobilization that we should focus on. Crowdfunding, you know, it's happening every day. WhatsApp group. We can also pitch. There's something called pitching, where you pitch your ideas, your projects or startups with investors for them to buy in and invest capital in exchange for fair shares or interest. There are many strategies that you can use to have effective resource mobilization. But first, you need to have a clear mission, articulate your goals and the impact of the work that you want to do. Engage stakeholders to build relationships with donor communities, members, and beneficiaries. Create a diversified funding strategy. Avoid reliance on a single source of income or donor support or resource support. And that's very important. Communication and marketing. When you are mobilizing for resources, you need to show your strengths. Everything you've done in the past, do it in form of a story. Use narratives to connect emotionally and potential donors. Videos, social media. Social media is very powerful nowadays. So use it for visibility and to leverage on platforms that are already in place. Regular updates keep stakeholders informed about progress and impact. So M&E, monitoring and evaluation, you have to keep updating people on what you are doing and the impact that you have achieved so that they can buy into your ideas. Building a resource mobilization plan, assessment. You have to identify current resources and gaps. Like here today, many of us from diverse areas of specialization. We need to do a clear what kind of resources we have and the gaps that exist and how we can facilitate to fill them. You have to have clear goals and objectives, set clear measurable targets. You must have an implementation plan, develop actionable steps and timelines. That's what we are going to do in the group work, I hope, in the coming session. There are many challenges in resource mobilization. Competition for funds. We like responding to calls for proposals. But what you forget is that those calls, ziko na wenyewe. It's just an extension of the last program from a consortium, because that last consortium has done some good work and the donor is convinced that this work should be continued. So I think that competition, you have to think about it and come up with alternative options to fundraise. The economy, you know, most donors, they get funds from their country governments, individuals. Individual donors are the most powerful donors because they are attached to what they do. Like the economic crash that was 2008, 2009, 2010. A lot of donors could not donate to their charities. So there was a change, many programs closed, COVID-19, all donations were diverted to COVID funding. So if you are talking about climate change, they said we have to resolve the crisis at hand. Donor fatigue, keeping supporters engaged over the long term. At some point, you're gonna lose your donations because you're doing the same thing the same way all the time. You have to keep revolving and working with the changes that are happening around you. Poor planning and diversification. You know, for example, when it comes to country funding like Kenya, we used to rely on the West, IMF, World Bank. But at some point we thought, why not try China? Their loans are maybe better or cheaper. So there are all those challenges that you have to think of. Maybe they have negative and positive repercussions, but there are options to think of. So I just wanted to highlight what we do as what I do with my organizations that I work with. This East Coast fever is one of the most important diseases in East and Central Africa, in the East Coast from South Africa. It kills a lot of cattle. But in 2004, there was no vaccine available. But there was a vaccine lying at ILRI. It has been developed in the 60s. And then the Tanzanians took it up and they started using it. And I remember being asked here, is a vaccine for ECF? So I went to Tanzania and I was told, hey, it's here. So when I went to the director of veterinary services, he told me, no, you can't import it here. Those are parasites. Cannot introduce parasites into our country. I told him, sir, this vaccine is here at ILRI. They take it from ILRI to Tanzania. I'm not bringing it back. I'm just using it. So we were told to do an evaluation to prove that the vaccine worked, all that. And we got some funding then from African Union and ILRI, and we started the whole thing in 2004. And today the vaccine is available. This year and last year, the last 2 years, we've been having the same activities with a USAID funded program led by Washington State University. Dr. Mwema is here somewhere, and a team from ILRI and University of Nairobi, Professor Zumbi, Animal Health Innovation Lab, Carlo, a lot of PhD students, maybe they are here, some of them, 12 of them, and MSCs, and we'll be doing vaccinations to try and prove something, that the farmers are ready to vaccinate, they are willing to pay for the vaccine. So these are some, if you look at the team there, is a well-balanced team. The county government is involved, the research teams are involved, universities. I think this is one case study that can show you that when you develop a program, don't just develop a vaccine and then you put it in the archives. After you've presented your PhD, you forget about the presentation and just have it in the library somewhere for reference. We must have a technology transfer component that delivers it back to the community you did research on. So these are some of the things that we think this meeting will come up with. Human resource that we need to move forward this One Health initiative. We also do a lot of rabies work in Kenya, around the Serengeti ecosystem, in Tanzania, Loliondo, Ngorongoro, Masai Mara ecosystem. We vaccinate close to 30,000 dogs every year. But these vaccines, we don't buy them, they are donated. They're donated by private companies through our One Health initiative, led by Washington State University, through the Global Animal Health Program in Tanzania, Narok and Kajiado counties, VSF Germany, VetAid, and the communities we work with, and Red Cross. Red Cross, I want to apologize your name. Your logo should be here. Just bear with me for that. And of course, our private vets and the county staff, animal health providers. We want to say thank you for that. Kisumu County. You know, it's beautiful to be led by a professor. In Kisumu County, in Narok, we use land cruisers because we drive around. You know, the radius of Narok is like 200 kilometers from one end to the other. So you can imagine vaccinating dogs in Loita and in Pusumoru on the other side, Mau. We spend a lot of resources. In Kisumu, we have a partnership with a company I work for called COHCC from the US. It's a tech company that utilizes drone technology to deliver vaccines. They even do it for the human sector there. If there's an emergency in a hospital 100 kilometers away, and all you need is blood, someone is bleeding, he needs blood, just send a message, they deliver the blood for you. And it costs $20 to deliver. And if you send a Land Cruiser, you send an ambulance, 100 kilometers, you need fuel, that's 20,000. 20,000 is how many dollars? It's $150. You need a driver, you need 2 paramedics, and the patient might not make it just because she needs 2 pints of blood. So they just deliver it by drone. Okay. Do we have a link for that video? And we adopted this technology to do animal health vaccinations. So that's in Kisumu, Muhoroni. Zipline has that base there. They just shoot you the drone, comes to your neighborhood, drops the vaccine in a cold box. That's Kisumu governor, deputy governor receiving the vaccine. I don't like cameras, you can see me clapping behind there. But basically, this took that 7 minutes to deliver in a distance of 57 kilometers. The community was waiting with their dogs. We started the vaccination. And what would have costed me maybe 10,000 in fuel per diem. You know what we call per diem for our officers, lunch allowances, what? Everything would have cost us maybe 20, 30,000. Cost us much less because this was a lounge, but when you're doing real vaccination, only the vet, one vet on his motorbike is there. So it's just, you pay him 2,000 maybe for lunch, fuel for his motorbike, and the community will be served. Maybe we vaccinate 100 dogs, 200 in a day. Brings down our cost by a big margin. So I think collaboration is the way to go. That's the biggest avenue towards good resource mobilization. So that's what Kisumu is doing. We should adopt it. Unfortunately, these technologies requires a lot of regulatory issues with because you know what we are living in times of bad intentions. So it has its own challenges, but it's working. We are in Nyamira County, Kericho. We are serving Kericho, Nyamira, Kisumu, parts of Siaya, Kakamega, Vihiga, and Bomet, Migori, about 8 counties. Narok is not yet there because of the distance, but going forward, it will also come to Narok and Nakuru and the others. So thank you very much. Those are my details. You can reach me and we can plan to do some good vaccination drops using drones. You don't need a Land Cruiser. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Turasha. I think it's a challenge. Whatever comes here also should be very innovative so that we don't tire the donors with what they've been seeing over and over again. So, as I said, we are going to modify the program. We were supposed to have a keynote from Kofi. Then yesterday we met after the meeting, a small group, which still represented the larger group. And we felt that by the time we are leaving here, we should have concrete way in terms of a concrete plan on how to tackle the proposal writing. At least we have some proposals coming out of this meeting. And therefore, there were some themes that were proposed in that meeting, basically derived from the discussion yesterday. And therefore, we also picked up leaders to head these groups, and I will go through them. So what we will do for this session, about an hour, we will have groups spread out, and we will ask out of your interest to join a group. Under that group, the leader will formulate a smaller group that shall work on that theme or sub-theme. And as we leave here today, it means we'll have to formulate a way of meeting, majorly online. And from those meetings, we will develop the proposal and look for calls that are relevant to that sub-theme. What we want is, at the end of it, maybe in 2, 3, 4 months, can we have a report saying, from this workshop, we were able to develop 5 proposals, maybe by next year, we can have a conference where people come and say, from this workshop, we developed this proposal, these are the outputs, this is the impact we are making in the community. So without much further ado, I'll just go through the plan. So we had two major themes. One was to have advocacy, languages, arts, and policy. From that group, they will figure out how to work on those advocacy and policy, and how languages and arts can shape the advocacy. And that one is being led by Professor Richard Kamula. The second one was now research. We felt that advocacy should be on its own, then research stands on its own. And under research, we have 4 sub-themes, where we have local and indigenous knowledge. Under it, we have also climate and health, mitigation and adaptation. And that subgroup will be led by Professor Wanzala and Dr. Bosire. Professor Wanzala is away today, so Dr. Bosire will take lead. The third group is water and climate change. That will be led by our able Dr. Kitur from Kenyatta University. The fourth one will be languages, arts, now as research. And that will be led by Dr. Ayodi. I don't know that she's here today, or she's in Senate. The fifth one is eco-health, and that one will be led by Professor Collins Mweresa. From eco-health, of course, they'll be able to tease out what exactly they want to work on. And the sixth one, I said 4, the 5, there'll be governance, research and the governance. And that sub-theme will be led by Nathan. So in total, we have 7 groups. And therefore, we need to distribute it in the room. I'll propose Professor Richard. Do they come where you are? Or, good. We have Dr. Bosire. Okay. Okay. So in that case, Nightingale, you lead that group until he comes. Okay. Then, so we congregate there, right, where you are. Okay. Dr. Kitur, what? We can congregate there, or we can move. I don't know. There, okay. That table. Dr. Yodi is not in. We'll figure out how to reach her. We have Professor Collins. Okay. Now that you're seated next to Prof, we'll need to move you to the other side. And lastly, we have Nathan. We can have you here in the middle. Somewhere, those seats. Yeah. So now, from the people on the floor, Hope you've gotten the sub-themes. I believe you have working interests. Yes. I want them to move. So, yes. I can't hear you.
Where does wildlife conservation fall into from what you've presented?
Now, it can fall under any of those 6. Now, it could be under advocacy, depends on how you look at it. There could be indigenous knowledge under wildlife. There could be an issue of water, climate change under wildlife. There is an element of, say, languages and arts. You can use it to communicate. So if you talk of wildlife, somebody else will ask about, say, animals. You'll find you can have in each of those, say, animal health, we can fall under any of those sub-themes. Human health, you can fall into any of those sub-themes. I hope it's clear now. Yes. So I think the challenge would be you'd find probably in wildlife you want to be in 2 groups, but here you have to probably choose one because you have to be somewhere. So can we have the first group going to advocacy, joining Professor Kamala? Maybe he can briefly describe what an advocacy entails. The mic.
Good morning, all of you. So yesterday we had a sitting, those of us who were available at the Kim Hotel yesterday night, and we thought about having a cross-cutting thematic area that will work on advocacy. And I thought that maybe for this particular one, we have to think about biodiversity. There is these things to do with the global diversity, it's called the CBD, the Convention for Biological Diversity. So that would be the overarching area, because recently there was a meeting that put up goals, 4 goals, and 23 targets, which comes around the globe. And that would be some kind of a rationale for us going in that particular area. So we just want to do advocacy around these kind of things. I have sat down and put up some tentative objectives for that particular area. So if you're thinking that you would want to do some kind of advocacy work on the CBD, it would be nice to for us to sit together and think about ideas that we can advocate for, think about who we want to talk to, if it's government ministries, if it's the East African community, if it's the Auda NEPAD, whatever thing it is. So people who might be thinking in that area would come near me. I know that it's not an area that all of us are very used to in terms of advocacy, but I think it's very important for us to work on this particular area. So anybody, wherever you are sitting, if you want to do some advocacy work, you know, you want to build champions for advocating for biodiversity, So champions could be individuals, it could be institutions. If you want to talk to policymakers, if you want to talk to communities about conserving biodiversity, all these things you can come together here, and then we can talk about them together. So I don't know, by show of hands, who might be interested. Then you can move near me, and then we can move to the next person. That's what you're saying, isn't it? Yes, yeah. So by show of hands, anybody who's interested in working on, so this one here. Yes, please. You.
Combination of groups, because when you say who is interested, maybe another group would be left with no persons. We can take maybe account of 1 to the number of group we have and the respective numbers watakutana wao wenyewe.
It's a new area, but I think what we are looking at is like what Dr. Thrush has talked about. There are those neglected areas which donors have not seen before. And we have a need. It's only that we've not been able to identify it previously. We're also here to learn new things. So I would want to imagine, for example, we are talking about One Health, and we have, say, students who we want to train on One Health. Does it fall under advocacy? It probably does. So I think the people who want to join the group one, just move, okay. We move there so that we proceed to group 2. Prof, don't worry, we will figure out pole. So group number 2, local, that's now research, and local and indigenous knowledge. We said it. Local and indigenous knowledge. Tusonge hapa. The other thing I want to explain is for advocacy, it cuts across all the themes. I'll tell you why. You will do research in terms of indigenous knowledge, but you may also require advocacy. So I would kind of recommend, since you're one group, yeah? It would be no harm if you volunteered 1 or 2 people to go to that group. I'm not forcing, I'm just saying it will still have a relevance in terms of advocacy for indigenous knowledge. So that you can have 2 proposals. You have one on research and probably have a say on that side of advocacy. It's an invitation, you consider it. Otherwise, advocacy does not stand alone, just advocacy. It has the research side and the advocacy side. So, number 3, that's local and indigenous knowledge.
Those who want to take a student or person, you can kindly join that. When you have the chair, I have a question. Here we find that all these things are cutting across each other. And at the end of the day, we shall have their local group with their input towards the indigenous knowledge. And we shall have the indigenous knowledge input into any other activity. So I think we don't also need to have all all the indigenous people here and we lead them to the advocacy area. So that's why I agree with the guy here, that we go by number, so that we don't miss each and every point of the day's work.
If we go by numbers, there are some groups that will not have numbers.
Say that Masai just allow me to say. We were looking at the indigenous knowledge alone. And indigenous knowledge somewhere will require advocacy.
I want to explain the way advocacy works. For example, you want to influence a policy, and that one will be more advocacy. So the proposal for that will be written totally different from the way you write research proposal. That's why I wanted two. So if you combine, you miss one. You kill one. You see, we are not the ones who are giving money. We are going to ask for money from somebody else. So we have to play the game according to their rules. Can I first go to the other group? The next group is water and climate change. And that will join Dr. Kitur. She's over there.
Okay,
so, Dr. Kitur, kindly explain briefly what you envision in that group.
So from yesterday's discussion, we found there was a connection between water, climate, and health. And climate change being an emerging issue, it is coming or it's showing that it is affecting of water quality. And it affects water quality through many ways, by affecting the contaminants which are found in water, also affecting water quality which is used for agriculture. And as you use the water for irrigation, and the pH of the water, the temperatures of the water, affects how the plants or the crops will take up the water. And in that way, it will also affect the nutrients which are found in those types of food which are being used by the community. And you know, once the nutrition of the food we eat is lowered, then it tends to affect the health of the community. So here we'll be interested in finding out the water quality, what is the quality of water, which especially where there is sanitation, where there is also irrigation, because all this affects the livelihood of the local person. So if we can find those, the quality of the water, the pollutants, will be also interested in the pollutants in the water, how climate change also affects those pollutants, because once those pollutants in the water are, once the quality of water is affected, then we tend to have also diseases coming up because of the, maybe the conditions will be favorable for the microorganisms which causes those waterborne diseases. So we also be interested to find out the impact of temperature on the microorganisms which are mostly the waterborne diseases, and also on the nutrients, on the type of plant or crops which are found in areas where there is an impact. They have found that there is an impact of climate change. How does it affect the nutrients or the various crops which are present there? So it's important that we also have some information. We have to find data on how some of these important nutrients in the food crops have been affected by change in climate. So we'll have a lot of data collection on water quality, data collection on the nutrients which are found in crops, which are found in those areas where we actually identify that we are going to work from. And also, we'll have to find out what are the waterborne diseases which are present there. And so also with the climate change affecting water, sometimes in certain areas, the water becomes limited. So there is a lot of conflict, and then it tends, when there are conflicts, people move from those places to new places where actually they destroy, in a new place, maybe they move, most of the time they find that they are moving to places where they are not occupied, and mostly it is the forested areas. And when they get there, they also destroy the habitats. So maybe again, we'll have to look at around there how those conflicts affect the livelihood, how these people get their food, whether they get enough food or not enough food, and whether the quality of food they have is of required quality. So here we have a lot of data collection on water quality, on impact of climate change on the nutrients, that is the nutrients of the plants, which are being used as the food, and also water diseases. And water quality, at least, we have to do a lot of...
Dr. Kitur,
yes?
I think wamekusikia, acha tusonge kidogo.
Okay.
So
if you are interested in actually doing water sampling and testing to find the quality of water, then we can form a team and work together. Thank you.
Thank you. The next sub-theme is, I'll skip the language and arts, and first go to eco-health. I think, Daktari, you can explain a bit what that entails so that people joining you can have an idea what it is about.
So, good morning. This is currently what we have around what you're calling the very simple concept. And the thinking that because of human activity and climate change, what happens is that the aquatic ecosystems are actually being destroyed. And when they're destroyed, then the sources of food become depleted. So in that case, therefore, human beings are forced to look for alternative ways of survival. And this one happens especially for those who are living adjacent to lakes. So what will happen is that they resort to turning to the lake or the large water bodies as a source of income. So we are likely to have fishing as an alternative source of livelihood and alternative source of food. But then as they resort to the lake, we are bound to have overexploitation of particular fish species. So the thinking is that how can we save the terrestrial ecosystem and how can we save fish from the lake? So in that case, we want to think about alternative remedies that they will come up to ensure that they have an alternative source of income. So one of them is probably rearing some species of fish, which therefore can be sold as fish baits. And a very good example is a small species of catfish, which can be reared very easily by the local communities to provide an alternative source of income, in the sense that they will save the fishermen, which they will use as a bait for Nile perch. But at the same time, if you think about rearing this particular fish, then what do you need? You also need fish feed, which is very expensive. So how do we do that? The thinking is that along the lake shores, because of a lot of massive fishing, we have a lot of fish waste, especially the intestinal contents and whatever that's normally removed to have the clean fish used by human beings. So the other alternative way, therefore, is to look at these wastes that accumulate from fishing activities. And the point is that these fish waste can be used as a source of feed for rearing an insect called black soldier fly. So then we get the organic waste, which has been left as a result of fishing and other fishing activities along the lake. We use it to feed the black soldier fly. The black soldier fly is processed into fish feed, but at the same time, the same black soldier fly can also provide organic fertilizer, which can be used by the farmers. So in the course of that, what happened that we end up diversifying the income streams of the people living along the lakes. And as we diversify the income streams, what happened that we reduce the amount of pressure on the lake ecosystem in terms of exploiting fish as a source. And because we're also providing organic fertilizer, then again, we can go back to the land and produce food. So basically, that's what we have in mind. But again, as we sit down and discuss, then we can actually refine these particular ideas and come up with something better. Thank you.
Thank you. So you can pick then I would want us to look at governance now. And Nathan.
Good morning, everyone. This is Mason Kipila. So about governance, we understand, or all of us know that all the systems or everything is connected to governance because we have policies, we have frameworks, formulations, and even talking about global representations or global conferences that are in regards to the discussions we have today. For example, we have COPs, that is Community of Parties, every year. We have UNSCCD, we have biodiversity conferences. So how do we really plan so that we attend such conferences? In ACOFI, we have what we call FFGG, that is First Friday Global Gatherings. And one of the things we are trying to do is connecting local to the international. And I think in most cases, that is connected to governance, like it is leadership. So we have like local problems, we have local solutions that are connected even to international frameworks. So that is one of the things that we can really try to adapt as an initiative. So yeah, thank you. Otherwise, maybe Nathan can add on.
Thanks, Mason. So we will be meeting in this space. We'll just bring some extra chairs. We have touched briefly on some of the existing plans that are in place related to hosting a conference here at Masai Mara next August, and related activities that we are looking at Kenyatta University and having an African Universities Climate Week that we want to tie to the Africa Climate Summit that occurred last year. And we're also looking at the Consortium, which is the umbrella entity that we are meeting under right now, how we can link to both the university level in Kenya, in Africa, and globally, and to strongly tie that to the policy-making spaces and the community spaces. So if you are interested in these types of questions and helping to plan these specific activities with us, we welcome you to join us here at the front. Asante.
Thank you. Now, there is one language and arts. This is where you use local languages. We can use art, music. That was to be headed by Dr. Ayodi, but she's not in. If you still have an interest, we could talk about it. Now, I'm seeing some people who are in the middle. I think they may not feel like they belong anywhere. And what I want to throw at the audience, Nathan, I want the people who are here, and maybe we overlooked a theme. So I think I'll mingle among them and find out, is there a theme we overlooked?
Yeah, these are not fit. Others anywhere.
Okay. Yes.
Nimejaribu kuzilisi mpaka mwishoni nikashindwa why kidogo.
Okay.
Gani na view na health issue. Zoonotics.
You know, the idea was, you see, like water, it can have zoonotics. The eco health, it's only that
you thought that's why I would go.
Yes.
Wait,
we see what we could do.
The way he explained it.
So, attention, please. I would want, when you are a group, we just congregate here. The ones who are not in any group, can we congregate here? We think through where we will plug in.
That's better now. I thought this was elementary, so sure it's okay there.
Can you hear water?
The way you said it initially, I thought this was a group. I'm sure you come okay there.
That one, the idea was the policy. You can have policy being influenced from animal health point of view, environment, any of this. But what I'm also looking at, is there a theme which has been neglected, which we can pick up? Yes,
that tells you that the communication
had a problem.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
Why would you want
Maybe
to
you should mention briefly what this group entails. You know, some people are
or what would they have liked?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like me, I was looking gani kuna those are not the things. Yeah.
Acha nikuje na kitabu tena. Yes. Yes. Advocacy. Let me come with the book so that we just have the. What I want to quickly do, because I can do my analysis here. Yeah. What's your background? What's your interest? Because I can tell this axis here, our health.
Human health.
Human health, animal health, animal health.
Human health.
Human health. Human health. Yeah? Policy and advocacy. If you have an interest in policy advocacy, ni pale. Animal health. Good. My argument was we can form our own something. And
how many groups?
7. So the first one was advocacy. Here you have almost everything. You have advocacy and policy. You can have your animals, human health there. However, see, the problem will be you'll have to pick one. You may be left out. The second one is local indigenous knowledge. And here we had climate change, health mitigation, and adaptation. Unless you.
This one is for everyone.
So for everyone, the problem in Akujani, the interests of the group might leave you out, but you can join. It's open. The next one was water and climate change. Here is where we are looking at water quality issues. Like now, the zoonosis can come in this group, Dr. Kitur. Yes, there is language and arts. This was to be done, whether it's a Ma, it's a Kikuyu, it was to be done by Dr. Ayodi. Then there was the eco health, which I think Dr. narrowed. Yes, we could fit there if you look at in terms of zoonosis, and I don't know where he's. I mean, just trying to expand this.
These are the groups that are missing.
Yes, then it's over there. Then we have the governance, Nathan there. So we could either go to the eco health and tweak it completely. If it's not possible, then we have a zoonosis group, because I think also that's an area where we can. One second, maybe I can hear from. Hi. Okay. You're also displaced. Okay. Okay.
I think we have to environment, but we should bulldoze here.
Then we go there.
Yeah.
The objectives, no, it's not fixed. You see, like now that indigenous could be anything. It could be languages that try to propagate. It could be herbal. You get, yes.
Let's do eco health.
Let's move.
Lakini kuongea na chairman.
On my side, I don't know if it's Ngali. So yes, yeah. So, but I am a nurse, and I'm also in One Health, and I'm very.
You know, these are not internals.
Very interested in pulling out or working in the local and indigenous knowledge, and seeing how that connects to our health as humans, the health of our environments, and the health of our animals. And you know, when we talk about especially this area, and even other areas like where Yasin comes from, Marsabit, these are pastoralist communities, and so it's a really good thing for us to do at this point. So, yeah, and then how it connects to climate and health. How that connects to health and environment. So we look at mitigation, health and climate and health, climate and health, or health and environment. But with climate change, we are also going to look at mitigation and adaptation as well. Yeah, I don't know how do we feel? Can you hear me okay? James, are we comfortable? Do you want to move closer, or there's somebody else there? Okay. Okay. Okay, he's coming. Okay, sawa. Okay, so we can maybe start with introductions, and I want Madam Margaret, you can start with your introduction, and then we can maybe, or no, let's just start here, so that it's, let's start here. Is that okay? It's okay. Yeah. And I think we'll move this around. Just move with it so that you're audible. Just keep pressing it on.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Anokech from Assessor Foundation. Assessor is a foundation that is dealing with the cultural conservation, where we do it through education, creativity, innovations, and research. So we are passionate about indigenous knowledge because culturally, culture is something which is indigenous. Culture is something that is orally transmitted. We see it through experience, and even we see it by observing the environment around us. So that's why we are here, to learn and to interact and to exchange knowledge. Thank you so much.
Good morning. My name is Damlik Lepa. I'm from Baringo and a student here in Masai Mara University. I'm taking BSc Wildlife Management. I'm also leading a group that's called Lake Baringo Biodiversity Conservation Group at home.
My name's James Olekesier. I'm a patron of El Cremisho Community Organization, located in Mau area, Mount Highland, and a member of the ACOFE. And I'm so passionate about indigenous knowledge. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is William Kilesi. I work with the Zema Forest community. We come to learn about our indigenous people, how to conserve forest, and the environs. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Yasin Mongoy. I'm from Marsabit. I'm representing Al-Shabaab. Al-Shabaab is a company that works with indigenous communities, resource hubs, and we introduce it to the global market so that it can have an economic value. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Jonathan. I work for ILEPA. ILEPA is Indigenous Livelihood Enhancement Partners. We are based here in Narok, and it is a community-based NGO for human rights and social justice, environment, climate change, and local level development. And we work among the pastoral communities, the Maasai in particular, of Narok, Kajiado, and part of Nakuru.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ezron Mary from Assessor Foundation. As we have just been told, we are interested in cultural conservation and basically just to conserve the indigenous knowledge and the application of it in order to make sure the planetary health has been achieved in an equilibrium way.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Margaret Siloma. I'm a director in Assessor Foundation. I'm also a teacher in profession. I'm heading a school, and I'm very much interested about indigenous knowledge, for it is applicable in school for climate change. We are there, we have a project, we have a club, which is called the Environmental and Conservation Club. And therefore, you're welcome. All the groups are welcome in the school programs, because that is where the practice is done. And I'm very much delighted to be in this workshop, because I know I can gain more to take to the school level.
Hello, everybody. My name is Dennis Nzioka. I'm the lead ICT in Assessor, and I'm glad to be here. And I'm looking forward for a collaborative and a rich conversation with us. Thank you so much.
Good morning. Olepan Steven, Paran Women Group, based in Ololunga. It's an indigenous women organization that is particularly using indigenous knowledge to conserve both the environment and empower indigenous women and the culture. So Karibuni Paran, all the groups and even the partners. If you want to learn more about indigenous knowledge, the OGX are in our groups, Masais are there, and even the Kalenjins. So Karibuni.
Thank you so much. My name is Dominic Kariankei from Assessor, in charge of research and development. So interesting that all of us here, we have almost a common thing. And it's high time for us to come together and even do more on how this indigenous knowledge should even benefit to the community. Should not just have in our minds, but it should be of great importance and even of help. The like of the hubs, there is a lot to be researched, and we are here to help each other as researchers, and even identifying even more hubs that will be of great and very important to the society. Thank you.
Good morning, all. My name is William Kiambati. As I told you yesterday, come from Green Horizon CBO. It's a youth-based organization whereby we do youth empowerment, and we are trying to conserve the environment and cure chronic diseases using herbs or using a forest. We advocate for planting of fruit trees. This is the only way that we think that we are going to have a balanced diet in our tables at home. And this is where we are going to connect with the environment. You know, as you plant a tree because of a fruit, you will solve many issues. You will be dealing with poverty and hunger, because you'll create employment through business. Also, you'll be dealing with diseases, because we'll eat those herbs and fruits from trees, and we'll conserve environment. We're also interested with our catchment areas. We make sure that our catchment areas are conserved. Wherever there is a tributary, we call it a heartbeat of our society. Conserve water so that in the future, as you know, the population is growing, we make sure that there's a clean and safe water for the future. Thank you. Okay.
So,
say areas, subzones, criteria, justification, and management of it. You see?
Ideas and then chart the way forward. This will come out three or four. Then for the timeline, if we can, let's endeavor to have a 45-minute discussion, and then have 3 minutes of presentation for the needs. Thank you.
Because we also have the water, yeah, we also have the conservation and rehabilitation. We have the water catchment conservation. So the activities all are there. Then after that, yeah,
the answers.
yeah.
But now, we don't get it. So we get there, by the source of the water,
Yeah.
see, and then something that is false for us to know. So how do we connect the sources?
Yeah, you have a question.
Where?
You have a question there.
So what the idea is the water was so let's discuss that. So you can tell us the issues of Narok and water, the Mau Forest, and Masai Mara, and then you can also tell us about Marsabit, the water issues, climate change, and indigenous knowledge. Who is the person from Marsabit? We're supposed to get somebody from Marsabit. Yeah. So Marsabit.
Then you also have.
Oh, okay. So we need two sites here: Narok, Masai Mara, Mau Forest, and Marsabit. Relation to water, climate change, and indigenous knowledge. That's the information you'd like. Because we have the sites that we can now discuss the water issues with climate change and indigenous knowledge. So, the site, I think sites here in Narrow.
Okay, so I wanted us to ground ourselves, thinking about the gaps that we have identified in terms of water and health in our communities, and then try to think about the solutions that are going to emanate within the community, for the community, by the community. And now that is what we will put forward as our gaps that we have identified and the recommendations that we are putting forward, and have a rationale for that. That is my thinking.
So we had a great start with the missing gaps.
Yeah.
Once we have those ones, then we can go from there.
Yeah. Okay.
So we have this place.
So we have
water quality,
yeah.
we have water distribution, we have the sources of water in the forest, and the range lakes. Yeah. Then we have another.
And we have also talk about crimes related to water, like when people go to fetch water in from long distance, maybe they face crimes, maybe women are raped. Crimes.
Yeah, because water abstraction is a crime. You see, a degradation on the forest within the catchment areas is a crime. So,
Harassment.
Harassment. And the cause of those long distances, walk, search for water, is due to corruption also, because you might not have enough water within the river because of degradation up there. I'm talking about now the main source.
Also part of this One Health initiative that we are coming up with. We'll have people, institutions out there who want to work with Masai Mara One Health initiative, because they have a certain component, a certain area that they want to focus on. Just like we have our visitor here today. We'll have many, many others who will come and say, hey, we can support this. Come up with some ideas that we can work within the areas that Masai Mara is working on. So I think that's my suggestion. We go broader. Let's
this how is for this in terms of moving
a year.
Or a year.
And you can do biogas. You can utilize it, change it into biogas. So there are many small components of
or make an innovation.
If you go there, you're saying still it's not far away from what I've been talking about. Because with this insect, on the other hand, we can do biogas. But as we are doing biogas, maybe kufanya biogas tunakuwa na ile maji na baki. Ile maji ambayo inabaki kwa hadi kwa so fertilizer. And then if you are doing the same, whatever the solid material within the cow down, and again can be fed on this particular insect. Yes, can be fed on this insect, and still we also we can also use that to so we can also do that so that we provide an additional income to the farmer. So we have the biogas. So the question is, what do we do if that comes out? So kuna biogas, kuna irrigation, tunasema. We have a BSF again still breaking it down to give us what? Give us animal feed, which can in turn support the production of other animals on the same farm. So if this is what we're having in the farm, then we can minimize whatever you're talking about, and then you can also increase the income stream of the farmer.
So the question is, how do we translate what we are discussing into a proposal component? I want to say, yes,
ABCD. We want to say, how can we reduce methane emissions in livestock? We want to say, how can we have better breeds that grow faster, so that instead of keeping 200 cows, I can keep 20 and make the same profit. Are you seeing better conversion ratios? How do we put that in our presentation? Who is our secretary? How do we put that in our presentation such that we say in our eco health initiative?
Yeah, secretary can volunteer. None anakuwa secretary.
Morning, guys. We have one to nominate her. Second.
Then fanye maneno bwana.
So we want to have a proposal for health. So the proposal is not to start with a broader objective, then you narrow down to activities. What we are discussing now, the methane, fish and service activities. So how do we bring down our concept such that we can easily present it there?
This idea will head for head. It's already been broken down a bit. Because already you see the site. And still, according to me, the methane is a serious matter. Very, very serious. In fact, personally, I think I have only heard about it. But I didn't think it was this serious. One cow in a year. That's about how much carbon dioxide. Sinimigi sana. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. And we have a methane lake in I don't know if any among them. And they have been unable even to tap that methane in that lake. Which means this issue is not a small matter. If worldwide companies have tried to tap the methane in a lake, in one of the lakes in the border of Uganda and Tanzania, Congo. Yeah, that's methane purely. And the worldwide they have been unable to tap that methane for better use, so to speak. So come to think of now one cow, we sort out that. I'm bringing the globe of us now, we bring down to where we are. By very little knowledge. So let's look at both.
We talk on the bigger points, the bigger problem. So these are the things we want to talk about, biogas, mambo nataka kuongea mambo ya fertilizer, luxury supply. Those are some of the things that are some of the solutions. And how as we are doing that, now then we have to know that. How do we do it? What do we do with it? But the for me, the main starting point is what he's talking about. So maybe mambo ya nini ya biogas na hii mambo mengine na kuja huko. I don't know.
So I think the real frame there would be mitigation. Mitigation proposal or mitigation, climate change effect mitigation, whether it's from emissions, whether it's from other related activities that humans are using, deforestation, whatever, it will come to eco health at the end of the day. So,
another perspective.
Yeah.
Kulikuwa na kitu kama train jana, nilienda leo sijaenda. Kama hivi ninaongea sasa. Kama tu ya kuongea kuhusu vitu na discuss mnaongea.
So there's the issue of
Leo sijaenda la
the issue of reusing the waste products.
the black flies. Is the issue of spreading diseases. So that can also, both to human and animals, covers all the aspects. So contamination of the environment. It covers all aspects.
So this you go to one more question.
Human, animal, and the environment. So physical one health.
Let me open up something. You know, under eco health, like the university will have students here who are MSCs, they want projects to do on for their projects and tests. They'll pick any of these items and come up with a proposal. And they'll come partner university. Nowadays, the way consortiums work, like USAID will not fund any project where a university is not involved. Whether it's American, and if it's an American university, they have to partner with a Kenyan university. When you look at Washington State University, it's working with the University of Nairobi in Kenya. They have a program called Animal Health Innovation Lab. They are funding PhD students. They are funding MSc students. They feel that by doing that, they are creating capacity within that eco-health community. Are you seeing? That's their area of interest. So as a university, you are thinking, how do we attract partners who will fund my students to fill in that capacity that we are lacking in our education system? Today, if you go to Carlo, our researchers are 70 years old, they are retiring, but they are hanging on. So those are the areas. So you can have mitigation, you can have academic projects on this theme that support MSc students. You can say we as a university, we're interested in supporting our MSc students. Do projects that will inform mitigation of climate change.
Now we have 10 minutes. Where are we going?
Yes, this is my suggestion. I think we have ideas, but taking off is going to be a challenge. I'm proposing that we identify the problem, say frequent drought that results from reduced rain that has been caused by what we call climate change. Then, having identified that problem, as well as many others, we can measure, because all these things can interpolate.
A department that is actually looking youth issues. And I also want to give an input about we have our local, or all of us come from, our local communities. And I feel like our cultures are being eroded. Our cultures are being, taken for granted. For example, I come from the Maasai community, and I feel like people are using, non-Maasai, for example, are using our cultures to benefit themselves. They have monetized or commercialized these cultures. So how do we come in as governance people to actually formulate policies that protect our cultures, that protect our beliefs, that protect our, traditions. And that calls for, I think, capacity buildings, going deep into these communities, like getting their views so that we can have, policies and help them actually, so that there is protection of, what is it of that community. Yeah, thanks.
You said is that what you said exactly is true, that the cultural events and the cultural heritage of various communities, just the way you have said, has been eroded and manipulated by people for financial benefits, and you find the owners of the same culture are left behind. That tells us where gaps are in governance, where an individual who has been assigned as a leader forget to take a collective responsibility on helping the community and takes the leadership for personal mutual benefit in partnership with organizations who fund their cultural programs. So that is where the governance also fails down to the people, where people put efforts in trying to maintain their culture, but now their representatives may take everything, including photos, videos, and left these people behind, and may even tell them, your culture is not a bigger aspect. It is not really something good. You can change from this to this. So you're taking someone mind who knows his culture is really more good to him or to herself, take him to a modern life. And when you need this person to go back there, you need to earn through them. That is where the gaps in governance develop. So I think to the local, just the way the youth requires to be involved, there's that media communication, in which way you can attract these people to get involved in these activities, and we get people who have integrity and who are honest to what they are supposed to do. Because now when you are held there and now you divert your mind that here I need the income at personal level and start my own activities, that which is not really, and you find the leadership now lacks sense. So when you tell someone, this is your leader, and these people already know how the leader takes the roles, the trust collapse. There's no trust. There's no commitment. There's not that unity. There's no collaboration. And now the objectives and the goals also fail to be achieved. So I think just the way youth are saying that it is really important to have youth represented. But the question is, within the representatives, do we really manage to stand in a collective position? That is the most important thing. That is the question. Thank you.
So I know we have limited time, 10:40, so we have some who haven't spoken yet. So we should be sure everyone has that chance. And we still probably need to decide on the spokesperson. Sure. So the spokesperson, who we have?
Social justice into biodiversity processes.
Since long time ago, but currently now the government's companies want to protect this area more. We're the ones who have been protecting this area, right? Our communities are protected. So the government being involved in protecting this area is coming up with policies that are very harsh to these communities. Rather than being proud of the area, they're now afraid of the area, right? Which they want to protect. They're afraid of the mouth forest and whatever. The government should be really harsh. But when coming up with these policies that create these areas, the government should realize that these communities are the ones who work with these acres, their ancestors, and everyone living there has to together. Now, coming up, we should understand that and advocate for policies that are much more friendly, and we make them still appreciate the place and proud.
When you go to the forest, they have the community forest association. But now the groups are being infiltrated by people because they have some, they call them user groups. So you find the community, of course, they have an interest in this resource. They get firewood, their water comes from that resource. But the people who come to infiltrate in the community, pretending to be part of the user groups, we have some timber, like they call them the timber something, they come and log. So instead of protecting the forest, they are getting the timber to go and sell. That is the challenge. Like where I come from, we have a community forest association that has been infiltrated by the loggers. So the community is really passionate about the resource, but the loggers have come for their self-interest to like sell the timber. So it is a challenge. You find like the Kenya forest, sometimes it becomes very difficult to distinguish between who's interested in the resource and who's coming to make an income out of it.
Yeah, and the other issue is about this thing you're talking about, protected area. What is a protected area? If you look at something like Masai Mara, it seems to me like as trade increases, people just occupy the whole area. There doesn't seem to be a proper demarcation between what we're saying protected and what is not protected. So really, if we get into Masai Mara and we are keeping buying land and going, at the end of the day, we're going to lose biodiversity. So what is a protected area? We must really make sure that this thing we call protected is really protected. We can see biodiversity increasing because that area is kind of a no-go area, or you're going there, you're going under some kind of guidance or something like that, So what we call protected areas, according to me, in the African context, actually doesn't have a meaning. Yeah, it's such a big gap that we should work on. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
So I'll go all the way back to the beginning. So there is community engagement, where we're talking about communities involved in policy development, and the input of the community should be felt. The second one is government and policy implementation.
Why can't you just go one by one and then we look for way forward?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the first one is community engagement, way forward for that.
How do you do this?
Well, and that is just an advocacy issue. If you think about it directly, you need to talk to these people more to allow them to tell you, how have we kept this thing here for all these years without losing biodiversity, for example? So listen more to those people and kind of actualize some of their solutions. That would be the thing.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And ensuring your solution doesn't affect their solutions.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Also, one of the biggest issues in engaging the community in policy formulation, as you saw during the finance bill, is we're talking these things in English and Kiswahili. The mama down there doesn't understand it. If we could have the youth who obviously understand the local language and say English and Nini, just like they did with social media, breaking it down into different languages, and then going out there and telling your mother, this is what it means, this is what it means. So what do you think about it? Yeah. So maybe breaking down Yes.
Also language.
Translate to a language that can resonate with the local communities.
And I think it should be like everyone's voice must be heard in the community. Yeah, it should not be, decisions should not be made up there. They should engage every person in the community. Yeah, and hear their views before making any policy. Yeah.
What I was going to ask, to derive the topic, the talk a little bit. You know, when you're doing a proposal, you need to also show that you're using current tools. You're not just talking traditionally, you know. So I was actually wondering, if you think about things like AI, which is kind of an in thing right now, how can we involve something like AI in conserving biodiversity? You know, even just by quantifying what is there and so forth and this kind of thing. I mean, it shouldn't be, we shouldn't be going like the old way of doing things. And also looking at the age of most of you here, you want to have something very current, something that can catch a donor's eye and say, yeah, we're going to use AI to do this and that, and this will lead to increased biodiversity or conserved biodiversity, this kind of thing. So I don't know if any of you would be thinking about a way that AI might be useful in this kind of thing. People talk about drones usually, but for me, a drone is just a vehicle, and I've worked with them a lot. It's just a car that moves in the air in a short distance, and that is it. But if there was an AI thing, even like of counting elephants, for example, or whatever.
Drones in getting HWC data, that's human wildlife conflict data. Also zonation on areas of grazing, looking at what is it? Their paddocks on the grazing plants. Then there's also the issues of cattle grazing within the conservancy, because you know, it's one of the things that is restricted. So I don't know how the data looks like, but I know it's been like 2-3 months down the line. So I don't know how the data looks like, but it's key on data collection and control of illegal grazing.
So you're looking at use of drones?
Yes, actually using drones.
Okay.
So most conservancies in the Mara have partnered with Earth Ranger. So Minasta always data on maybe herds, the number of herds and whatnot. They're also collecting data on human wildlife conflict. Yeah. So I think that is in play. The problem is it's individuals doing it. So unless you're there to find that out, it's difficult to know what's going on.
Yes, sometime when I lived in the Netherlands some years ago, they had a butterfly program. They had a butterfly program there where when you get a butterfly in your locality, you'll take a picture of that butterfly, you will you'll take a GPS position and you'll send to a central thing somewhere in the country. And that thing was always on the news. Everyone really wanted to know what butterflies are near me. You know, it was a very interesting program. And if you think about biodiversity clearly, there are some species now, I don't know them really, which are really getting lost. If you go to the park, maybe initially you could simply see that species of animal, but today it's not there. So if tourists coming through this town, for example, are given some gadgets from Masai Mara University, where they go and you see this, please post, take a picture and do ABCD post here, you know, and someone's collecting that data, I think it would really be great, you know. Yeah. Even when I heard about the botanical garden here, you hear about species that used to be in a place and now they've put cypress everywhere, you can't see it. So when you see these species, where can you report? If someone just tells you, in terms of Kenyan biodiversity, do we have a database of all our animals, all our trees, we don't have that information. And for me, it's a big gap actually. I don't know, okay, so but that should be something for the research group actually, yeah. But advocacy, that would be, when we get the information, then we put in advocacy from the research groups, yeah.
For us, we are also looking for critical endangered, which is there are actually four species of vultures that are critically endangered,
And we are applying citizen science, as you said. We have a community of volunteers within the landscape, and we've given them phones, and they're using an application called ArcGIS 123. And with the application, they're able to, whenever they sight a vulture, they're able to take the photo and share to a common database. Yes. So that's an application of modern technology in species monitoring. Yes. Because there are those species that are quite very rare to sight. Yes. But once in a while, you'd find them sighted somewhere and deposited in the database.
That would be useful. I don't know how we should capture this information, but it's a gap that I think we need to try to.
Citizen science. Solution number 2.
Government and policy implementation. So implementation of follow-up from, this is the context you're talking about. Policies are made in the upper level offices. How does it trickle down to communities? Okay. So the second gap we came up with was government and policy implementation, where we are talking about policies are made in the big offices, in the offices in the higher places. How do we ensure that our solutions are trickle down to the mama mboga? That's the context we are having. So we need to find a way forward for addressing that problem. One is public participation.
Public participation.
Yes, public.
But it's actually not just public, it's public stroke community.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
not just the public. Yeah. Yeah. And actually local community, not just community. Yeah. The communities need to also communities really need to be educated actually. So there's that man in a brown coat there, I think he's a true community person. Sometimes when you listen to him, you think, oh, we need to correct a few things. So the community needs to be enlightened also when they're doing their contribution. How can we panel beat this thing to fit into everything else? Yes, exactly. So we need to do a bit of community education also, the capacity building in those communities, so that when they contribute to policy, they really align with the general thinking that is out there. Yeah. I don't know how you want to do that, to pick that in the notes. Yes, please.
The way it has been done, it's only one meeting.
And lastly, on the art side, looking at something like a film festival, looking at climates and planetary film festival that we would plan to do